a lot of these people think, oh, I'm cool. I'm going to be the big Long Island medium, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to get all this information for you. And run away.
Hi, I'm Vinnie Corbo, publisher of Volossal Publishing. I'm here with Bob Buchanan, one of our premier authors. He's also a caulbearer or a medium, and I'll let him explain more about what that is to you. Bob, welcome. And can you kind of tell us what a caulbearer is?
Thank you. Sure, Vinny. Caulbearer means I was born with a veil on my face. It's a physical membrane. Nobody really has ever identified exactly what it is. And it's a physical thing. It's not like a, La La Land type thing, but the surgeons have to remove it. I had it for most of my life. My mother kept it in a wedding album. And that's supposed to be a sign from God that we're here. That's what they say. Term call is more familiar with the people in the South than it is the Northeast where I'm from. So I added medium because it's essentially the same thing. I get the souls from the other side. I don't like to call them spirit guides because a lot of the fakes that do what I do throw that all around. Spirit does this and spirit does that. And so I call them souls. And I'll bring in anywhere from 1 to 5 souls, the ones that are closest to the client I'm sitting with. And they're going to tell me a little bit about their life together. And then they're going to open up a window showing me where they're at and what's going on in their life and how to get through it. So it's also a healing. It's definitely a healing.
Describe what this veil looks like for the people who don't know what that would. We're all trying to imagine what that looks like in our head.
All right. What it was... when I saw it, I was older. It looked like a piece of skin, about that big, covered my face, and it dried out to look like skin. Okay, and it had like holes in it, but you wouldn't be able to tell what it was if you looked at it, because you would have thought it was skin.
I want to just get quickly past the suspension of disbelief and address that right away. Why somebody would say, well, Vinny, why would you publish this book? Why you don't actually have any religion or anything, you don't believe in really much of anything. And what I do believe in is energy and science, and that we're all made of the same thing. These headphones and this microphone, it's all made of energy, and energy is a transferable thing. So why am I to doubt that one living thing full of energy can transfer into another form of energy just because I don't understand how that occurs? I don't have the education or the scientific training, and maybe none of us do. I'm not going to doubt it. There are millions, hundreds of millions of people on the planet believe that there's an invisible man in the sky who created everything. A lot of people believe that Jesus was the Son of God, but then at the same time would doubt someone like Bob, which I think is very unfair. I've known Bob for 5 years. I actually knew him and worked with him before I even knew he had this gift. And I would describe Bob as a no bullshit guy. He is a guy... Right, Bob? I'm not exaggerating here. You tell somebody your breath stinks, Bob's going to tell you. He'll be polite about it, but you're going to hear it. He doesn't hold back his opinions. He's a straight shooter. He has no reason to lie. He has not tried to sell me anything. He's very honest. So why do I not believe him? Okay, so then I'm going to take a look at these books. I'm going to take a look at the stories. And when I did, they're incredible. And that's why I would say, before you pass judgment, before you doubt whatever it is, just read the book and then read one chapter. And then I think you might be like, and I want to know more. And so I was very excited about the opportunity to do a second one. Let's jump into the stories. There's two stories in the new book that I stick out to me. One is the woman there was somebody in her room. Do I give that away, or do you want to kind of tell us that
No,
one?
that's fine. That doesn't give anything away. Um, the woman actually woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning with the footsteps in her bedroom. And then when she looked over to her left, she saw a man looking out her window, but she knew it wasn't somebody that was here. So she got nervous. She reached out to actually a woman who owned a gun store, uh, called me. She had on a video. She saw guns. The guns were like leaning back. They were three of them falling off the shelf, and nobody was around. So that turned out to be her grandfather that was doing that, because the three guns that were owned by a guy that was a misogynist, who was not a nice guy, treated her poorly, and he wanted those guns out of the store. So she found her. It's crazy. She knew the landlord of the building, who talked to my client, and that's how they finally came to me. Now, here's the fun thing. Strange things do happen. All right. She called me up in a panic. I got to see it today. This was a Sunday afternoon. I like to close what I call the skylight on Sunday if I can. I had a full calendar that day of other things I was going to do. I told her I'd have to see her Monday or Tuesday. Well, sure enough, and my calendar just cleared, just gone. And I called her up. I can come over and see her. So I get over there. I go to her bedroom and get a feel for anything. And I've got souls around. When I got to her bedroom, I felt a military encampment behind her, which would be from the Revolutionary War. And then we looked into it, or I looked into it. It would have been a French encampment back there at that area. And but then we sat down. Her boyfriend came by. He was with us. And I'm looking at the boyfriend. I'm like, I know this guy from somewhere. I just couldn't place him. And I'm doing her session, and in the session, I call them sessions, not readings. I got a grandmother, her mother, and several others come by. And then finally, her father comes to me and tells me it was him that was that entity that was in her bedroom. And I'm telling her about her father. And her father was out of her life. And then I told her, I said, you've been thinking a lot about your father, wondering what he's about and why he disappeared. And her boyfriend says to me, he laughs. He said, yes, she's been talking to me about that for 2 weeks now. So, and then I did her session. She learned a little about her father. And I told her, once we were done, I told her, listen, your father's not going to come back again. He'll be around you. They always seem to be around us, but he won't show himself again. And then I asked her, now names are not necessarily my thing, but I do get names from time to time. And I asked her, does the name Mary mean anything to you? And she said, no. I said, Aunt Mary doesn't mean anything? She said, no. And he says, the boyfriend says, I think that's for me. I turned to him and said, dark hair, wearing glasses, playing cards, smoking. He laughs, that's her. And it turned out to be, so he got some messages from his Aunt Mary. Now, the thing about him, and you ask about non-believers tend to be religious folks, okay? The born-again Christians are the absolute worst. They attack me frequently on Facebook because they believe in their religion, and they don't believe that any of us should be able to talk to the other side. John, it said in the Bible, beware of false prophets. And he was really talking about the crazy psychics back then. And there were quite a few. And psychics will try and take advantage. Stay away from psychics, basically, because they're really not good. They're usually, in New York, they're usually gypsies trying to grab your money. So they're the false prophets that John was talking about. So I knew him. And I realized later that he was a born-again Christian. And had I remembered who he was, because I had known him, I probably would have froze. I probably would have not talked to him. I probably would have not said anything to him. But he was totally into it. Now, now if I go to, I see him, he's like my best friend. He's a good guy and gets it.
We should add that you are a religious person. You have a strong religious conviction. You believe in God, you believe in Jesus. You live that lifestyle. So, this isn't really, technically it would be a conflict of interest, but the two things work in simpatico for you.
I'm very spiritual. Okay, this is all about spirituality, and I am of the firm belief, and I can't prove all this. See, that's the problem with this. You can't prove it, but I believe that God grants those who are real that do this the ability to do it, and how much of that they're going to get. That's the difference between caulbearers, which go very deep, and mediums who get stuff, but it's not as deep as we go. It's a little different. We will do, like one woman said, Jesus, like talking to a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I said to her, yeah, but I did all the talking. And she just laughed. She said, oh, you're right. Because I don't let people talk to me. I got to tell, this is very important, folks. When you first come to me, I'm not going to let you talk to me. I'm not going to let you give me any information until we are at least halfway through it or further through it. So, and that's important to you. Because if you are recording me, which I allow, and you're listening to that and you're like, holy crap, I gave him all that information, which is not an uncommon situation, it's going to hurt the person I'm with. So that's very important to me. So this is all about spirituality. I'm not into religion per se, because religion to me is business. And unfortunately, we've co-opted religion into human business. It's but there's no doubt about some of the things that I see and some of the things that happen. As a matter of fact, Vinnie, the reason why I write these books and tell these stories, I probably shouldn't say this, but
You probably shouldn't say a lot of things.
Stories myself. Because I'm afraid I got to tell the stories so I can believe them.
Okay, they're unbelievable stories, but that's my whole point. This is you're a guy that just isn't full of shit, and that's all I can say, and that's why it's compelling. You told me once about you did some kind of program or something, and there was a woman on there, and she said something that was actually hurtful to the person that you guys are working with, and she told you later that remember that?
Yes, okay. She was my client. It was a phone session. She lived in Pennsylvania. I live in New York. And her daughter came through who was killed in a car accident. And I saw the daughter hit her head in the car. I also saw that there were two people aside from her daughter in the car. Both lived, and the driver was drunk. There was alcohol involved. She confirmed everything. We got a lot of other stuff. I don't remember a lot of stuff comes through me. I don't remember everything. So I only remember the highlights, things that, are important. So she said, yes, that's all true, except for that's not how my daughter died. So I went on, I finished our session. At the end, I said, listen, how did your daughter die? Well, she went to a big event by a very famous TV personality medium, okay, who I believe, if she ever had her gifts, has since lost them. The woman asked the crowd, did anybody here lose somebody in an auto accident? Well, she said 4 of us raised our hand. She said, anybody lose a child? Now, children make good press. That's the hook, okay? When you talk about children, it pulls on the heart. And she said, I was the only one. And she proceeded to tell her that she told my daughter died in a car accident. So this medium proceeds to tell her that she died it was horrific death. Well, and I'm like, no shit, excuse my language. Isn't anytime somebody dies in an auto accident horrific? And then she said, you were lied to by the police and the coroner. I think she told her that she hit her head. My client told this medium. She said, you were lied to. She said, a big shard of glass came off the car and pierced your daughter. I said, okay, first off, I'm real, she's not, no longer. I said, second, as a police officer, and I did a lot of forensic photography for a major utility company where I handle a lot of accidents. I never, out of 100,000 plus accidents, I've never seen a large shard of glass come off that would be able to pierce anybody. I said, so they all come off in little bits and pieces. I think the story is in that book. I believe it is. And so I said, so let me ask you, who are you that the police and the coroner are going to risk their reputation to lie to you and not tell you the truth? And why would they do that? I said, because what was their finding? I asked her. She said, both said it was a head injury. I'm like, well, I saw the head injury. I said, everything else I told you was true, correct? She said, yeah. I said, so I'm telling you, it was a head injury. That woman lived for about 8 months thinking that her daughter died. Now, terrible way, and that's not true. And that woman did that to please the crowd and for the big wow moment, because the kid came to me the next morning, woke me up. Sometimes the souls do that. They'll come a day or two later, and to wake me up and tell me that she did that for the big wow moment to end her big event. And that's sad when people do that. It actually pisses me off to know, you know, the only reason why I don't expose her more, because she heard another one of my clients too, that was a private session on TV. And this woman knew all there was to know about Susie's life because she told the producer of the TV show, and it was repeated back to her. And that really seriously damages people. And I got to tell you, Vinnie, I know I shouldn't, but somebody says, well, you should turn the other cheek and not care. I'm like, well, you know, I'm not a turn the other cheek kind of guy. I'm an eye for an eye kind of guy, man. So it's like, you're hurting people, you got to go. That's why I became a cop, because I didn't like people hurting others.
Right. Everything about you sort of makes sense. Like, it all kind of fits. I think it's interesting too that you have this artistic streak as well. I mean, you can tell a great story, but then you also the book you wrote, The Lunch, is a great fictional story. So you can tell a good true story. You could tell a good fictional story. Photographer. I mean, so you've got this whole passionate side of yourself, and then you've also got the logical, straightforward, dealing with an emergency, thinking fast on your feet kind of brain too. So it's kind of an interesting combination, which why I feel like it lends itself to having truth in the art. Even the way we were talking about the most recent book cover, straightforward picture of yourself, nothing really overly airbrushed or anything. It's like, this is me, this is what you get. Right? Am I off base? Am I wrong?
To me. No, you sent that to me. We're 3 hours apart, and I got that later at night, and I happened to open it up on my phone. It took my breath away looking at that ugly face. Like, oh my God.
I said, do you want to take another picture? And he goes, no, that's it. That's
no, that's who I am, man. It's like, I'm pretty. I accept that, but it's like, you gotta.
Tell me about the firefighters. I know you have a good one about the firefighters.
My sister Donna called me one day. I had a client that lost her daughter in an accident, and my sister Donna sent me to that woman. We did a session, and then what happened was my sister called me and said, this woman's brother just died. He was a firefighter in White Plains. She said, can you tell me if Erica, that's the daughter of the woman I told you about, was there to meet him? I said, Donna, I said, you know what? I was driving. You can't do this when you're driving. I have to concentrate. So I said, I could tell you yes, and most likely he did, but that'd be guessing, and I don't know, Donna. If I get a chance to think about it, I'll let you know. Concentrate. I call it concentrating, because I have to go down. And next morning, I woke up, and the firefighter and Erica were with me, and they told me that Erica was there to greet him, and that he played with Erica as a little girl, and they were close, and that he was at the towers, the 9/11 towers. So, and they show me this beautiful vision of him going to heaven, where all these firefighters were lining the way up to heaven to greet him and to bring him through to home. So I called my sister and I told her, listen, I said, this is what I got, Donna. It was 9/11, related. He and Erica were close. My sister said, no. She said, I'm telling you, he wasn't close with kids. That's just not the kind of guy he was. And he was a White Plains firefighter, which not New York City. So I don't think he was there. Okay. I said, well, all right, that's what I got. She called her friend, my client, and she validated that he and Erica were close, especially when she was a little girl and he played with them, and that he was at the towers. I guess he was help cleaning up, and it was 9/11 related death. So that was kind of amazing. And then I decided to shoot as a photographer, recreate that photograph of the vision I saw. And I reached out for firefighters, but guys were afraid. I don't know why, but they were afraid. I got my nephew and his father, good guy, both firefighters, volunteers. I got the kid who was one of the two firefighters from a local fire department through a friend, Rich, and he hooked me up with those two. The one guy brought his girlfriend. Turns out that girl that we used as a model my sister told me, looked almost identical to Erica. And the guy's father came, and the guy whose back is to you, was a New York firefighter who was at the towers. And I put that together. It was kind of, something I had to do. I don't know why. I'm not going to make any money off it, but hey, what else is new?
You're right. I mean, that's the other thing too. Like, if you look behind Bob, he's not sitting in a mansion with white tigers. You clearly haven't used your abilities for self benefit, where others have. And that leads me to one of the most important questions, I think, is for anybody who would want to go see a caulbearer or a medium, or possibly have some connections with the deceased. And first, we should say this. You haven't mentioned this, but there are times when you will meet with somebody or you'll do a session and the souls just aren't there. It's like, sorry, they're not here today. And while it might be disappointing, that's the reality, correct?
Actually, when I first came out, I like to call it come out because I've had to give my whole life, and I started doing this for other people about 11 years ago. So when I first came out, the medium who brought me out said, you have to do this. She said, you got 7 divine spirits around you. You got no choice. I said, yes, I do. I'm not doing it, because I had a good contract. And we had an argument. She won. The contract was ended. That was it. It was over. She said, there are going to be people you cannot read. That has not happened to me yet. I get something for everyone. Okay. And here's what I think the reason is. And it's the only thing I can think of is a lot of mediums want you to tell them about yourself. And when you're not doing that, they're not getting the information they need to read you. And they'll tell you, I can't get something from you. Or maybe that person was shut down or turned off by that person. That's never, knock on wood, knocking on my desk, that has never happened to me yet. I've always gotten something for somebody. It might not be what they want, and part of when I open up to tell them how it's going to work, one of the things they say, their souls are going to tell me what they want you to hear, not what you want to hear. And I had one woman, she wanted me to tell her where her mother's money was, and her mother was still alive, by the way. Her father and her uncle with me, and I couldn't do that. So, they weren't going to give that to me.
Okay, so if there is a person that was looking to see a caulbearer or a medium, what advice would you give them, or things for them to look for to be able to distinguish between somebody who's authentic and someone who's a charlatan?
Okay. Couple of things. If they make it about money, I mean, we all have mortgages, we all have to eat. So there's a certain amount of money has to be involved in this. But if it's all about money, or if it's all about their ego, and that's really the big part. A lot of these people think, oh, I'm cool, I'm going to be the big Long Island medium, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to get all this information for you, and run away, because this is not about ego. If you got it, take your money and run, man, because you're going to get a lot of nonsense. That's the key. And also go for referrals. But the real important thing is when you sit down with somebody, if they've been referred to, first off, look at the type of person that referred that medium or, caulbearer to you. Is that person the kind of person you can't shut up? Because I've had those. Okay. And if they won't be quiet, I will come out and have a conversation with them. I will not go to the other side because I don't think it's right. All right. And if you're going to tell me stuff about yourself before I'm going to tell you about it, it's going to look like it's fake, and I'm not going to tell you about it. Now, I'll give you one quick story. I'm sorry, Vinnie. One quick story. I had a woman. I was doing a session with a bunch of women. The woman who owned the house asked if her groundskeeper could come in. I said, yeah. And I got two or three people. Then she says, I'm looking for a friend. I said, okay, just give me her name. She gave me her name. I said, oh my God. I said, she was hit on the head. And I put my hands around my throat. I was just about to say she was choked when the woman beat me to it by a second. She said, no, she was choked. And that's what I don't want. You got to let them talk first. And it turns out, I said she was killed by somebody she really loved and cared for, and and what the ultimate thing was, it was her son that killed her, the woman's son. So that's why I really don't want people to tell me stuff. Once you know I'm real, once I'm convinced, because I'm a little bit of a skeptic. I know I shouldn't say that either, but what the hell I am. Um, Once I prove to myself that what I'm getting for you is something there's no way I could have gotten, then once I say to you, do you have any questions? That's when we open it up. It usually happens about the middle of the session, a little later than the middle,
How long is
that's when it changes.
How long is a typical session?
Typical session's an hour, usually because I'm motor mouth here. I don't know when to shut up either. It goes a little longer.
And you said you've done phone ones. Is that for people who are a long distance away, or
Yeah.
Okay. You're able to do it though. It works over the phone for you.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, as long as I'm connected with the energy, I get calls from Ireland. I've gotten calls from Sweden, Texas, California, Missouri. I've got quite a few in Missouri, Canada. So I get calls from all over the world actually at this point.
Okay. And just to clarify, I know the answer, but I want people watching to know the answer. Why do you do this?
Wow. I don't know. I just feel like people need help out there, and especially when you get some sessions are easier than others. Some doesn't get as much information because all they want to know is, are they in a good place? But when I get people that lost a mother who they were like best friends with and are missing her, or father they were best friends with, or father's daddy's little girl, or children, it's painful as hell. If they read the forward of your book, they'll read Brenda's story. Brenda lost her son in a house fire. And when I went to see Brenda, I was giving this up because I didn't understand. I said, I'm really not doing anything for anybody. What am I bothering for? I'm definitely not making money, because I'm not. And when I left Brenda, she walked me out to my car and we were talking, and I realized why I do this is to help people like Brenda, and it's gratifying. And that's really the payment here, is it's gratifying.
That's why I think you're awesome. That's why I love working with you, and I think what you do is valuable and important, and we are thrilled to have you on the Volossal label, and looking forward to what you come up with next, because it's always entertaining.
I'm working on my third book, Vinnie, already. I got stories.
Fourth Einstein.
Well, the third. And I'm working on the Cocktail Party, which is the sequel to The Lunch.
Great.
Okay, I've got the Past Life Regressions. That book, as you know, is two stories in one. It's the romance that's going on now, and connected to lovers as soulmates, and you've got these past life regression stories, and that I've been working on. So you got a couple more coming, and I got 2 homicide books that are rolling around in my brain.
All right.
I don't know if I'm ever going to get to them. Hey. But working with you, Vinnie, a real pleasure. I mean, a real pleasure. I'm glad Kathy Brown put us together, and I really appreciate you and everything you do for me.
Thanks, man. We want to thank Bob Buchanan for taking the time to see us today and being very honest, and we appreciate your candor. The new book is called I Can't Find You a Boyfriend or Your Keys, My Life as a Caulbearer. Bob Buchanan, thank you. Come see us again.
Thanks, Vinnie. Anytime. I really enjoyed this. It was a blast. Thank you.